Hello, everyone. The beginning of a new school year is a great time for me to get to learn about my students and my students to get to learn about me. I teach mathematics, and there are lots of things in the world that you may not even think of as being mathematics. And one of those is making jewelry. So one of my favorite hobbies is creating jewelry, and this is all jewelry that I have created. Um, Some of it involves using patterns other people have created, and some of it is my own pattern. And it's interesting to see the way mathematics and geometry and symmetry come together to create a beautiful piece of jewelry. Sometimes I need to do bead stitching, like this one, to create a piece of jewelry. And you can see the symmetry there, how one side is the same as the other side, and how geometry comes together to create these holes, these open spaces that make the bracelet look a little more interesting. Here's another example of bead stitching. And if you look very, very closely there, every one of those spots that you see in these, what we call them end cap covers, is actually a bead, and this was all stitched together by me. One of my favorite types of jewelry, though, is kumihimo, and most of the jewelry that you see here is kumihimo. This one, it can be done with beads. It can be done with fibers. Right? And it's an ancient form of braiding, and it's interesting to see how geometry comes together to really create these braids. Some of the braids, the fibers aren't stiff enough on their own, and they have what's called a core. There's actually a hidden piece of fiber. And here you can see I've used embellishments on this one that other people have created. So here I've looked at color to match some of the colors that are in the bracelet. A couple of pieces that were really very interesting because the beads that are used are two different beads. Both of them have a smaller seed bead. See if I can get that close enough to you. And then a very different bead. These beads, when they're not on the necklace, on this pink one, look a little bit like Hershey's Kisses, like pink Hershey's Kisses. And so it's interesting how when you're braiding, how you have to accommodate the fact that there are two different kinds of beads, and that you have a pattern that uses a different number of each of the kinds of beads so that you can create a necklace that actually holds together. This one was probably my biggest headache. This is one that a pattern that I created myself, and the two beads are very different. There's a tulip-shaped bead in there and a seed bead, and having to accommodate how many seed beads it would take so that it would equal one tulip bead took a lot of calculating out before I got the pattern right. And then I had to consider the fact that there was a wrong way and a right way, because the tulip bead has clear up and a down. So even in creating jewelry, we can use mathematics.